Ako ay gumawa ng isang tulain para sa mga idolo ko kung tawagin. Sila ang dahilan ng aking paghinga, aking mga magulang ang magiging tema.
Magulang, makinig kayo sa aral ng kantang ito.
Habang lumalaki ang isang bata, madalas ay sinusundan niya ang mga kaugalian ng kanyang mga magulang. Sila ang nagsisilbing mga gabay sa buhay ng kanilang anak upang patnubayan sila sa tamang landas para sa kanilang kinabukasan. Ngunit, paano kung ang magulang ng isang bata ay maghihiwalay? May pag-asa pa ba siyang tumuloy sa daang masaya at matuwid? O maliligaw lang ba siya sa lansangan ng kalungkutan at kasamaan? Saan kaya tutungo ang kanyang mga yapak?
At home it's not really happy, and you know, like pagtapos ko umuwi sa school, like yung the pair in the house isn't really that happy ngayon nga, and it was really hard to be inspired to actually do good in school and stuff like that.
The child may become very, very anxious. Apart from that, of course, the child will experience extreme sadness. That can sometimes lead to trauma. Sometimes, not all the time, okay? But it can also lead to depression. Again, sometimes, not all the time. So again, it may cause undue stress to the child, and because of that, the child's academic life, personal life may also be affected. Okay? In terms of positive effects, what I can say about that is that if a child is always exposed to parents who keep fighting all the time, then parental separation will provide the child with an environment where there's more peace, hopefully, an environment where he or she will be better taken care of because the other party, okay, or the other partner will no longer be around to cause harm or trouble to the child, if just in case there's abuse, okay, involved.
Okay, yes, sir.
Okay, what can students do on the part?
Sir, would it be alright if you looked a bit
Okay.
here?
Okay.
A bit, not directly towards the lens, sir.
Oh yeah, sige, I'll look at the X.
Gwapo naman siya, di ba?
What can the students do on, or maybe even the friends around the student whose parents are separated? There are a lot of things that the student can do. One, the person himself. Let's say, for example, I'm the child whose parents are separated. What I have to do, a good way, I mentioned it initially, a positive coping is that he has to vent it out. Meaning, he should have a friend to tell whatever those angst or anxieties or feelings that he's going through. That's one. Second also is that the people around him, let's say for example, his barkada could serve as his support group. They are the shock absorber, so to speak, of the stresses that the student is going through. So that means if he has a support group, that means he has friends to hang out with, people with whom he could, at times even as simple as, when alimony doesn't come on time, somebody has to pitch in terms of the financial or whatever needs. The needs could be very, very practical. Even as simple as kung stormy yung breakup and all of a sudden the economic foundation is really, really threatened. Maybe somebody has to pitch in for baon for the meantime, maybe for a certain time until they get on their feet. Those things, those very, very practical things. And even as simple as, hey, you have a study buddy, meaning he can't study at home because every time he goes home he gets depressed because of the situation. Okay? Or maybe the mom is not yet over with the separation, and the mother could be very hysterical, and at home is very toxic. So if he has a study buddy in school, maybe that study buddy could accompany him in the library and do group study or whatever, a tutorial for that matter. The real help could be very, very practical. Okay? So be it a study buddy, somebody to cry on, as a listening ear, or maybe somebody who's going to pitch in for a little few pesos or coins for some basic needs, those stuff. Or maybe even, let's say for example, very practical would be maybe he doesn't have some gadgets you need for studying. Let's say, some have the luxury of having iPhone or laptop and all that, but if, let's say, there are 5 in the group of, if he is the youngest or he is the eldest and all, and those gadgets are not available, then somebody has to lend him. He needs those, di ba? So, those things. So, of course, but depends on the person how he's going to cope with it, because there are 2 ways of coping. Some would just simply brood and keep the things to themselves, and they don't even reach out to people. So that's the more difficult one of coping. Okay, that's a more difficult one. But there are also people who really ventilate, who really articulate their needs. So these are the people who are easy to help with, because nagsasabi sila eh. They reach out to people. So once they say it, definitely there will always be takers. But the person who just keep things to himself, he'll end up always be a loner and carrying all the burdens to himself and suffering in silence. So that's a more difficult way of coping. So again, very important yung support group. There should be a support group. And if you have a buddy, 1 or 2 or 4 at the most, you'll get by.